everybody and welcome to GamerSpeak. This is Steph, and today I actually wanted to talk about the initiative for Stop Killing Games. I know it's a little different than what I usually do here on the channel. I usually like to cover a game specifically, but I think this initiative is incredibly important, and I think a lot of people care about it. And, well, with people like Pirate Software going and throwing his dick around and telling you that you can't do it because of this, that, and the other, I think that's kind of bullshit and baloney, and I wanted to talk about it from the perspective of the business because it's just dumb. Like, I understand why a developer might struggle to understand this concept because, well, developers are very just logical people and they want to follow complete logic paths, and if you don't have those, then sometimes you just crash, right? But from a business perspective, this is great. This actually creates a whole lot of money within the industry, and let me go ahead and just get into that right now. So what I'm going to be sharing with you guys is a Miro that I've created, and it just goes over some of the pieces, some of the basic fundamentals of what it takes to actually make a game. Like, just bare bones so that everybody can understand. So you have the game engine, you have other shit behind it where you have to purchase so that you can go ahead and develop on that game engine, or, you know, plan like Miro and stuff like that, other licenses that you need, right? And this all funnels into the game. The game company goes and develops on the game and creates this product. Eventually, they also, before they go to ship it out, they want to go and protect the game. So they hire a DRM, like an anti-cheat or anything like that, so that product isn't stolen. Then on top of it, if it's an online game, then they have to go and facilitate servers, netcode, all that fun stuff, and then they can go ahead and put it onto store listings. Now, very normal. I think most of us understand these concepts, but what you need to understand about what Stop Killing Games is about is when one of these pieces of the pyramid start to fail, because you need to continue to have a license for the engine, all the other products that sit next to the engine, you have a license for the DRM, you have a license on the game servers, or like a rental fee, think about it that way, like a leasing on the actual listing of the game on the many different platforms. So like you would have to pay for every single purchase, or you pay a monthly or whatever for it to go on to Xbox, Steam, and all those fun things, right? And then you have the actual price to maintain the company itself, so like the actual game company and paying the developers and all that. So when one of these start to fail, usually it's a sign that the game company either needs to come out with new content or it is time to start sunsetting. So for those, just to understand, I'm going to go ahead and down my super advanced timeline here of you have your development cycle. In the beginning of the timeline, you have the actual overall release, and then you have what's called the sunset, where they go to turn it off, right? So what Stop Killing Games is about is when you turn it off, we want to make sure that you are providing something that actually allows the player to continue to play the product that they purchased, right? And I use a misleading statement there because games today are not considered products, they are considered licenses. So we'll get into what the difference is there here in a moment. But essentially it's just saying, hey, if I paid money for this game, like flat out for the game itself, you should not be able to just take it away from me at any time. Like, this is now mine. Why are you able to take it away from me? This is stupid. Especially if it has single player functionality, just turn off the DRM. Like, it doesn't make sense that I would need a DRM for a game that you are not selling anymore. Why are you protecting a purchase that means nothing? Because the DRM is so baked into the check of the actual game to make sure that the game is functioning. Once they stop paying for the DRM, the game can no longer function themselves, and it just bricks it, right? Same thing if it's a game that's on a server. If it can't connect to the server, it just bricks it. Pirate Soft sat down and argued, well, then we have to make everything single player, and then you have to have ways around the DRM, and then you have to have like how would you do that experience? All stupid shit that he's just basically thrown out there to throw you off the trail. Essentially, if we wanted the game to continue into service, all that really needs to happen is the DRM needs to actually build out a way to continue to either stop supporting the game or support the game in a different fashion, like in an offline mode. That's very simple. And most of these DRM and anti-cheat companies don't do that because, well, they want to sell you their product continuously forever. And if they made something that worked in an offline mode, then they can't continue to sell you the product and continue forever. So that's why they haven't sat down and developed into doing that just yet. This initiative would say, hey, you kind of have to do that, get off your ass and make money. And most of these people are going to drag their feet through the mud and say, no, I don't want to do that because, again, that's going against my practice, and if you make me have to work any more than I want to work, I'm going to cry and bitch and complain about it, which is actually a great thing, because then all these other startup companies that would sit around these DRMs, not like the big anti-cheat ones, they can come up and they can offer their own DRM. They can offer it with an offline mode, they can offer it with a sunset mode, and make a ton of money. It creates competition within the space and will be great because then you get better DRMs, right? Like currently today, a lot of these online only DRMs actually lower how good a game can run. Like, it makes the game kind of run like dog water. They found out like years and years ago in like 07, 09, if you remove DRMs from the game runs a hell of a lot better, which was one of the reasons that people pirated games, because they would buy the game run like dog water. They would go over to the bay, they download the game with the DRM removed, and oh my god, hey look, it runs great. So being competitive competitive in that space is a fantastic thing. It has not been competitive for a very long time. I think this is a great change within the market. And now for game servers, right? How do you handle game servers? Well, there's always been options for third-party hosting, right? Like, as long as I can remember, there have been private servers for World of Warcraft, Ragnarok Online, just about any sort of game out there that had a demand for the service. Like, even take something random like Evolved. Evolved eventually had a community server that was created for it so people can continue to play Evolved after they turned it off. This has always existed. You just need to make sure that there is a model that supports it, right? And so, like, let's talk about it real quick. What does a company actually need to be able to support this initiative? Technically, a company needs nothing because they can hire another company to do it. So like I said, the DRM can do it for them. There could be a third-party company that spawns up that goes and takes care of this initiative for them. Really simple. People do it all the time. There's tons of startups all over the place. Startups where it's just like, hey, this is a sunset support company, and about 100 of them will spawn up. 3 of them will survive. 2 of them will sell off to big conglomerates, and then 1 will become king. And then when that 1 becomes king, there will be a whole bunch of copycat. Another 100 spawn up and copy their exact model and sell it to other competitors, and so on and so forth. Capitalism is great, and that's how it works. So it creates a ton of jobs. It creates a ton of initiatives. It's all really good because it gives rights back to the consumer. So why would Pirate Software argue against it? Because he's a developer and he's only thinking about how he would have to solve the problem. That's really not what's important here. A company, yes, would need to solve the problem, but it doesn't mean that it sits direct on the company's shoulders. It means that they would have to go and just buy another thing in the trifecta pyramid here of things that they would need to support and pay for. Not that big a deal. And if the game's good, then you never really have to worry about it. If the game's bad, well, okay, great. You bought your insurance and your protection for it. Now you're covered. Now everybody gets to continue to have the product. Everybody's happy. And then for an individual developer to support this, they would really need to be creative in coding an offline version of a anti-cheat. Look at The Witcher 3, for example. They figured out a way to do it. In the past, before the internet, they had to do it all the time. It was just a normal practice. People have come and just been more creative in how they go and code and develop. I know Pirate Soft just mostly copies his shit from AI, but you know, maybe try to think outside the box with your own brain. So, great example of something changing within the market and spawning a whole bunch of companies. When the DEI or woke initiatives started coming up, a lot of game companies were like, oh my god, I can't have my consumers freak out on me because I don't support this initiative. So things like Sweet Baby came out of nowhere and just started blackmailing companies. I'm sorry, legally gray line blackmailing companies to say that their consumers would rise up against them and they'd have to deal with a whole bunch of freaking bullshit that doesn't exist, right? Essentially saying that you need to support these initiatives, and if you don't do it, your game will fail. Right. But ultimately, because of this change, it just created a ton of jobs within the marketplace to support this movement. Now, this is not a movement that I think is the equivalent, and nor do I think this was a good movement, but it is a perfect example of creating jobs just because of standards within the industry change. So let's talk a little bit on why we need to even discuss this to begin with. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I was a little misleading by using the word product. You no longer buy a product when you're buying a video game. You're buying a license to the video game. And the reason that companies do this is because they can sell you literally nothing and have ultimate control over it. Products and consumer rights around products, everything from like your toothbrush to the console that you own, all have consumer rights around it already. The legal system has a very robust built-out line that says you can do this and you can't do that, right? When they sell you licenses to play the game, the legal system has not caught up yet. And that's how they have this great loophole, is they can technically just sell you nothing and collect the money and then decide to turn it off. So for a lot of people out there who are going, well, if a license isn't owning the game, then stealing a license is not stealing the game, it's not actually theft. You all have a very valid point. It truly is a valid point. It's a very schemy system game companies and the whole industry has really taken advantage of for a very long time. And sitting from the business side, of course they're going to take advantage of this because it's a gold mine. It's fantastic. It's better than making movies. Don't get me wrong, there are some rights still with the licenses, and there's terms of service stuff that you have to consider with the licenses. They're not just complete free-for-alls, but it is newer to the overall ecosystem. So Stop Killing Games basically will have to have something that tacks on a law to these licenses in order for them to have to support it, very similar to product consumer rights. Now, I'm not a lawyer. As a business analyst, as someone who works in businesses, creates software for a living, this is some of the things that I know about working with lawyers. And I would love to see somebody like Legal Mindset cover this because I think it is a big issue that I think some people need to throw their hats in and talk about, because it is a little bullshitty. Now, sitting from the greedy business side of the fence, yeah, it's great. It's great that I can go and abuse this thing and sell you almost nothing. Like, why wouldn't it be? You're selling hot, wet, sticky air, as Alex Ramosi says, right? It has no weight, no cost of shipping, highly addictive and keeping you coming back for more. This is perfect. And I don't even have to support the product consumer rights that sit behind it. This is great. Like, there is no downside for me. And then I get to list all the terms of services that if you break it, I can turn it off. Like what we see today with Nintendo, when people bought the Nintendo Switch 2 and started going and hacking them, and now the country of Brazil is suing Nintendo because, well, guess what? I'm sorry, but that's a product that has product rights. Therefore, it is their property and they're allowed to do what they want with their property. Go Brazil, you guys are based as fuck. But I wanted to clear this up for a lot of people because, one, this sounds like a bigger initiative than what it is, and then you have people like Pirate Software just going and spreading bullshit, right? And like, I get it from a developer's perspective. He's all sitting down going, how do I solve this? How do I solve this? You know, because he doesn't actually know how to code. You are a developer. I got news for you. There are very few developers in this world that can handle the business issue and the development of the software at the same time. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm just saying that is a lot to put on one person's shoulders. And so from a business perspective, this is a nothing burger. And now we already have the lobbyists reaching out and trying to slander the initiative and say that this, that, and the other, and companies need to retain the rights of blah 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 and screw you over. Again, it's easier for companies now to get these lobbyists involved because they're already on the payroll. They don't have to give them any extra to do it, so they're just deflecting because they don't want to actually lift a finger. Anyways, that's my little speech here on Stop Killing Games, and for the perspective of a business analyst, I want to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. I really appreciate everybody subscribing and all the new growth that we've had to this channel. Honestly, it has been amazing, and I'm really grateful to sit down and be able to share some of the knowledge and some of my experience with you guys and help grow as a community. If you're interested in more stuff like this, we've got videos in the channel. My wife also uploads on this channel as well, and we talk about other different diverse topics. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.